Om. 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 Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Vinaji, will you do the Dhyana shlokas, please?
पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्रा येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्स सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्याग्राहवती कृपेण वहनि कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवशा सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटम् नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयात् भारतपङ्कजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुत स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदे गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं नाविदुः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः।
Hari Om. So, we are in the 9th chapter and in the 22nd verse, which we were supposed to start. And there was some homework. So, the homework was chapter 2, verse 45, where he uses the word Yogakshema. And also in chapter 9, verse 22, he also uses the word Yogakshema. And apparently, there seems to be a apparent contradiction because in 245 he says don't be looking at yogakshema. In 922 he says I will take care of yogakshema. So uh, Raghuji has done some manan. He has also noted that down and sent it to me, so but I will ask him last. If any of you otherwise want to talk about this, any thoughts? Yes, please, Patuna.
Yeah, this verse 22 of chapter 9 is a wonderful verse. It really touched me, so I did Manan, though I was not there in the last session. Pramila told me that I have to do this, and vis-a-vis chapter 2, 45, verse 45, and this one. And later on, I went through the video also, recording. Now, pardon me, I did not find any contradiction between 245 and 922. Now, I'll first talk about 245. In 245, Krishna is telling Arjuna that you have to transcend the three gunas. Now, one doubt got clarified at that time itself, but I was always under the impression that we should try to transcend from tamo to rajo to sattva. And if you go to sattva, then you have achieved it. But Krishna clearly tells that you have transcend all the three gunas. That means from your Prakriti stage to Purusha stage, you have to discover your consciousness and merge with your consciousness. So once you go to that level, Krishna is telling Arjuna that Niryoga Kshema. There this word is coming. So this gives a doubt in the mind how a person who does not take care of his daily requirements, who does not protect what he has got, yoga and sema, how does he carry on with his life? It is true for Arjuna, it is true for all of us. So I felt that in 922, Krishna is dispelling that doubt. He is trying to tell us that, look, if you are a true devotee of mine, he knows the problem that he has already told Niryoga. So he says that I will take care of those needs. That means I will look after your requirements. You need not worry. You go, you do your work, transcend the, he said, pair of opposites, like loss, gain, happiness, sorrow. You get over all this and merge into your, I can say, Atman, and all your requirements, bodily requirements, I will meet, and I will also protect what all you have. So that he clarified in 922. So I saw a bridge between 245 and 922. No contradiction.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Pramila ji, Veena ji, any further thoughts?
No, I also felt the same thing, that if you rise above those three gunas and whatever you have, he will come forward. He will take another 10 steps. If we take one step, he will take 10 steps to protect what we have and take it further wherever we lack.
Okay.
This is what I felt.
Veena ji, do you have any thoughts here? Okay, Raghuji, you want to explain what you have written to me? Unmute, please.
Okay. So I pretty much said the same thing initially as what Parthoda has said, and I did not see any contradiction actually. But then I noticed that there's a contradiction between 922 and 514. So in 922, he assures Arjuna that he will ensure the proper fruit comes to pass, Yogakshema Vahamya. However, there is an apparent conflict between this assertion and that stated in 514, na karma phala sangoyam samyogam svabhavastu pravartate. See, here Krishna says that he does not take the action to the fruit.
And further in 5 also he says that Uddaret Atmana Atmanam. So you only have to do your work. I'm not going to do anything for you.
Oh, In fact, the 545 is also followed by 547, where he says Karmani Vadikaras Ma Phalishu Kadachan. Okay. So, and then he says this, this apparently seems to conflict, because he says in 22 that he will take care of it, and the 514 he says, I don't do anything to link the two. Okay, but then he, in that 514 itself, he finishes with Svabhavastu Pravartate. He provides an alternative, which is also that because Prakriti is also his creation. So through Prakriti, he is ensuring that you attain the fruits of the actions that you do. Okay. So in a sense, he is ensuring that the proper fruit comes to pass. But then this actually I started looking at this a little bit more, and I felt, it allows us to appreciate the law of karma, which governs the entire cosmos. It is the law of karma is the macroscopic law from which you can actually derive Newton's first law of motion, which is on the individual or microscopic level. Okay. We study probability and statistics and the possibility of outcomes, and say there is an uncertainty in the outcome, right? There is a randomness in this universe, but in actuality, there is no randomness in the universe. Every single action has to follow the laws of physics as laid down by the creator. So if that's the case, where is the room for randomness? The fact that we perceive randomness is coming from that we don't have knowledge of all the actions that preceded the particular action we are looking at. We don't have knowledge of all the other entities that are participating and acting on the object of our observation. So because we don't have that knowledge, we feel that the reaction that we observe, it seems to have an uncertainty attached to it. So if some action is done, you don't get the reaction that you expect. But that's because there are so many other actions that go and so on. So no action is ever wasted. And it actually continues to influence the expected outcome long after we have forgotten about it. It is this law of karma that links every action. I've also read somewhere, I don't remember where, that even the Lord says that he is bound by the law of karma. Okay. So that means, I believe it's our deep-rooted ignorance that makes us believe that if we do right, then somehow the God will come to protect us. We believe we are so important that he has to look after the entire cosmos, and he is going to drop all of that and come rushing to help us. That is not the way it is. He has ensured that every action of ours, every righteous action of ours will beget something positive. Every unrighteous action of ours will beget something negative. It is the law of karma. It's the way it goes. And it is the law of physics, actually. So there is a link to that's what in my manan, I put down this.
So very nice. The only place where I will slightly differ is the fact that when we look at, so who are we talking about here? Are we talking about Brahman? Or are we talking about Ishvara? When he says Yoga Kshema Vahamyaham, are we talking of Brahman? Are we talking of Ishvara?
I felt Ishvara only.
Okay.
Sorry, Brahman. Argue with your nature.
Because Krishna, whenever he says
Brahma,
he is always referring to Brahman.
Not always.
Yes.
Not always. You see, that is where we will have to realize that we are in the second part of the text. And in the second part of the text, which is chapter 7 to 12, there is a confluence that is happening together between Brahman and Ishvara. And their unity is also being slowly unfolded, which is why we will see in chapter 10, he talks about the Vibhuti Yoga, which is basically about Ishvara. It is not about Brahman. In chapter 11, when he looks at the Vishwarupa, it is purely Brahman. So there is a confluence that is happening. These two concepts are being merged together in various concepts at various points. Now, firstly, Ishvara is the sum total of whatever we are and is a little bigger. Brahman is also the sum total of whatever we are and a little bigger. Right? For example, we see that in our daily life. In our daily life, you as the person is bigger than the sum of the body parts. Correct? Your building society is bigger than the sum of all its members. The country, India, is bigger than the sum of all its population. So there is something beyond that physicality, which at our individual level, in the microscopic level, we call it Jivatma or consciousness, right? At the macroscopic level, at the cosmic level, we call it Ishvara. But the underlying to Ishvara itself, we have seen is Brahman. So when he says Yoga Kshema Vahamyaham, there are two meanings that we need to understand here. Two meanings. See, we have seen these words earlier. You would have seen that word Achintya Rupam, right? There are many descriptions of the Lord we given as Achintya Rupam. We have seen that in chapter 8. He says Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. So in chapter 8 he describes, right? Kavim Anushasitaram Puranam, Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Dhrataram. He says, beautiful description of Brahman. Over there, he uses the word Achintya Rupam. What is the meaning of Achintya? Achintya means that which I cannot imagine, that it could be one meaning. But it also means that he also uses the word Sarvato Mukham. So these words, we have to understand them at both levels. At the Ishvara level, there is an interaction that is happening between Jivatma and Paramatma. But at whatever I need, which is yoga, whatever I have, which is kshema, holding on to whatever I have. See, chapter 2, verse 45 and chapter 9, verse 22 are part of the same conversation. And in the same conversation, let us say that you are having a long conversation with your son or your wife or your close friend. The same word in the beginning of a conversation may have a complete different meaning when it comes to the middle of the conversation. In that sense, when Arjuna is in chapter 2, he is still centered with the body. He is still centered with his body, mind, intellect, consciousness. There, when Krishna is telling him, Niryoga Kshema, meaning don't get rid of all the bodily needs and bodily protection that you are looking at. Material world. But now we have transcended that. We are no longer about the body. In chapter 8, what did he do? Arjuna talked about saying, what is Adhyagya? What is Adhyatma? Right? Beautiful questions. Very philosophical, very deep, technical questions he has started asking. Right? Gandivam Sasvate Hastat, that is gone long back. All that has been forgotten. Very hard technical questions he has started asking. What is karma? What happens at the time of prayana? All these questions he asked. So therefore, we see very clearly that the shift has happened, and the meaning of the term in any dialogue, we say dialogue has to be conditioned by what? Sthan, Kal, Patra, Vishay. Right? Context. Sthan, Kal, Patra, Vishay. All four have changed. The Vishay, the Patra has changed. Arjuna has changed. The Vishay has become different. The Vishay was no longer body consciousness. The Vishay has now become attaining Brahman. So when he's saying Yoga Kshema means the consciousness in you will give you whatever you want. It is through the consciousness alone that you will be able to derive whatever you want to derive. In the spiritual world. In the spiritual world. If you look at it in the material world, then we are saying, okay, in the material world, I am expecting Ishvara to come and do things for me. No, it doesn't happen that way. There, then chapter 5 will apply. Uddaret Atmana Atmanam. You only have to do it. Your sadhana cannot be taken away. So we have to understand it from a contextual perspective. Raghuji, you had raised your hand. So if you want to add something here.
Yeah. So I personally believe, okay, this insight I got it as you were talking, so it's a new insight. That is that, see, one aspect I did not take into account in my explanation is the fact that we are not talking of insentient objects. There are objects around us, there are people around us. And obviously, when we do the right thing, they are motivated to work with us. And that aspect obviously is, to me, Ishvara is still got one veil remaining. That is, he has an attachment to his devotees. Okay. And that's why he feels compelled. But with the powers of the Parabrahman in his hand, he will feel motivated to use those powers for the benefit, for the protection of his devotees. Because not just because my devotee has that kind of attachment, he has seen the deserving aspect. Therefore, he feels that this one. So that aspect I was not recognizing.
Yeah. So sorry. So to interrupt, which he has himself declared, isn't it? Abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritrāṇāya sadhūnām vināṣāya ca duṣkritāṃ dharma samsthapanārthāya sambhavā yuge yuge. He says that very clearly. He has declared what you have just now said. Right? It is only when the deserving, so to speak, that you used is the person who has decided to say, I will move towards what is my essential nature. That is the meaning of dharma, that which upholds me. What upholds me? Consciousness alone upholds me. Consciousness alone upholds me. And I have decided that I am going to remove all the veils that I have put on myself. That is when his help happens. That is the play of grace. Now, another point that you raised, that the Lord himself is bound by the law of karma. The Lord, in the sense of Ishvara, is not bound by karma. When we will, at some point of time, we will study a beautiful work of Adi Shankara after we finish Aparokshanubhuti, which is getting to be tougher to finish, but then we will finish it at some point. After that, the another text that I will take up is called Vakya Vritti. It's a beautiful text. It is, Vakya means sentence, Vritti means meaning. Right? Vakya Vritti. He takes one Vakya only. Chandogya Upanishad, Tattvamasi. Chandogya Upanishad of the Samaveda, he takes Tattvamasi and he explains that. Like in all texts, there is an invocation, Mangalacharan. In the Mangalacharan, there is a praise to Vishnu by Adi Shankara himself. There is a praise to Vishnu in 2 verses. And in those 2 verses, he expounds with a beautiful sense of language as to what Ishvara is, not the form, right? The Ishvara, what Ishvara as a concept is. But when this Ishvara does what is called avataran, in the form of a material form of a human being, as in Krishna, as in Rama, as in Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansa, the body is bound by the laws of karma. You cannot escape that. That cannot be escaped. Even whether you are the Lord himself, he is bound by the laws of karma. Hence, he takes on the curse of Kunti, the curse of Gandhari. Right? He says, when Gandhari says that I curse you, that you will see the entire race of Yadavas being destroyed in front of you. And he says, so be it, my karma. It is the consequence of my own karma. I will have to bear it. So at an avatar level, that is obviously true. Right? We have to understand when we say yoga kshema vahamyaham is something that has to be, if it is to be done by Ishvara in terms of bringing to us what is it that we need in terms of our spiritual requirement and holding on to what we already have in terms of our spiritual requirement, that comes from consciousness. It comes from the chit. Yes, Raghuji.
Yeah, but you told us that Ishvara is the Saguna Brahman. The moment he is Saguna, he is in creation. He is within creation. So this Ishvara that you are talking about, I wonder if it is nothing other than the Parabrahman himself without any thing. Because the moment he is got gunas, then he is within creation, then he has to follow the laws of creation.
So that is what. The creator does not necessarily have to follow the laws of creation, is the achintya rupa bheda bheda. Achintya rupa bheda bheda tattva. This is what the Gaudiya Vaishnavites, they talk about. Right? Gaudiya Vaishnavites, they are Dvaitas. Right? And we are talking about Advaita. Both of us, whether we are Advaitis or we are Dvaitis, we are saying that there is a paradox that we do not understand. There is a paradox that we do not understand. For example, let me take a simple word. Ishvara, the cognate of Ishvara in English will be God. Correct? The cognate of the Ishvara, word Ishvara in English is God. What is the quality of God? Oh, he is omniscient. We all agree, right? Whatever religion you take, whether you take Christianity, whether you take Islam, whether you take the Sanatan Dharma, Ishvara is Sarvagya. He is Sarvagya. Now, does this mean that if I have attained enlightenment and I therefore become I become Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati, I also become Sarvagya? Technically, right?
Correct.
So does it mean therefore that I know the details of everything that is there? So do I know, for example, there is some painting of some camel or something at the back of you, in your back, I can see that, right? Or I can see there are some curtains and there is an AC. Do I know what brand AC that is? Do I know who is the painter? I am Sarvagya.
Become Parabrahman, right? I will also find that out.
Now, let us say that I am Sarvagya. I have attained enlightenment. Will I be able to know that? No. Here is the interesting paradox. When it says that the human body, in the human body, when I as Jivatman become Jivan Mukta, then I am Sarvagya because I know everything to be the same. I do not need to know the details of everything. Right? Elon Musk apparently claimed that he has read the Encyclopedia Britannica twice and he remembers every bit of it. Now, I don't know whether he was just throwing facts in some things at us which we cannot verify, but let us assume that he is right. Right? So now, Elon Musk also still does not know what happened in my past. Right? But Trikalagya, Jnani, Sarvagya, such definitions are given to these huge saints who have passed before us, including Gurudev. And these are not people, therefore the word Sarvagya itself has a limitation in terms of the Vyavaharika Satta that we are talking about. He operates from the knowledge that everything is one. Hence he is Sarvagya. But what about Ishvara then? Ishvara knows the details. Ishvara knows the details because Ishvara is in the details also. I am not in the details. My physical body cannot be in the details. The atoms that make up that painting, the atoms that make up that name, brand name on your AC, even they are Brahman. And hence it is known by Ishvara. And is Ishvara cognate with Parabrahman? 100%. We have seen that when we were doing Brahma Sutras. Right? When we were doing the Lakshanas. We were unable to find the difference between the Lakshanas of Ishvara and difference of the Lakshanas of Brahman. So Brahman, Ishvara, while he is Saguna Brahman, he is Gunamaya, but the creation is within his control. He is not controlled by it. And hence therefore, even in the Gita, he declares, Prakriti is my Parashakti. It is not my Aparashakti. My Aparashakti is, however, consciousness. Such a beautiful thought. See, chapter 8 and 9 are very difficult in terms of understanding. We have to always keep doing Manan of chapter 8 and 9. These are they are the most technically difficult chapters of the entire Bhagavad Gita. Another slightly difficult chapter will be chapter 13, but it's a very beautiful chapter. So the way it has been explained becomes very easy. But chapter 8 and 9 are not easy unless we do a lot of manan. So my request here is that we should continue to keep doing manan, cross-reference the way we have been doing. Look at one chapter, look at what was said in chapter 5 against this particular thought, go back and continue to do this. Hence, now with that background, we should look at this. And he says in verse number 22, Ananyaschintaya chintayanto mam Ananyaschintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham Ananyaschintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Ananyaschintayanto, Ananya, always thinking of me, continuously thinking of me, and thinking of nothing else. Ananya, Ananya, without anything else coming into the mind. For such people who are always absorbed, Ananya Chinta, Mam, me, they those, Janaha, persons, Pari upasate. You remember Pari Prashna? Similarly now, Pari upasate, right? The upasana is prayer or upasana is worship. Upasana, so Pari upasana, exclusive, intense upasana, pari upasate, nitya abhiyuktanam, those who are always absorbed, yoga, spiritual assets, supplying of spiritual assets, kshamam, protection of spiritual assets, vahan, if you have remember the word vahan, same root, vahan, to bear, to carry, aham, I will carry. I, as in consciousness, will carry. I, as in Ishvara, will make sure that what you talked about, the Heisenberg principle of randomness, there is no randomness in this world. There are no coincidences that happen in anybody's life. These are beautiful circumstances that created because of what? See, what is the future? What is the future? General definition. What is the future?
Perceptions of what might happen.
Okay, the future is nothing but the past conditioned by the present.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Not by definition. This is Gurudev's definition. Gurudev used to define. So if you want to change your future, you have to recondition your past with the present. You recondition your past with the present, the future changes. How do you do that? By doing Ananya Chinta. The question that arises is, how do I do Ananya Chinta? Which means, then how will I do my work? When I have to sit and discuss something with my client, will I be thinking of you only? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. You do it every day. Let me give you an example. Where is your mind when you are brushing your teeth? Is it in brushing your teeth? No, it has gone. It is doing something else. Your mind has already gone to something else and it is brushing your teeth while you are brushing your teeth. So your body can be doing things while your mind is doing something completely different. What happens when you are doing a mundane activity that you are doing every day? So what happens when I do these activities every day and I train my mind to remain away? So when you go to doing a physical activity, there is something called mind-muscle connect, right? You've heard of this, mind-muscle connect. So your hand, when it writes, you can write without looking at the paper. Why? Because your mind and your hand have got connected. You know how to write A, B, C, D without having to think or write about it. Same way, when you train your mind to be able to settle down in one place and then redirect its thinking towards a particular way in a very, very continuous focus. See, when we do Rudrabhisheka, the first Abhishek that is done is called Gandha Tailam, right? In the south, they use still oil. In the north, they use oil which has some scents put into it, and they use this as when they do abhishek. Why is Gandha Tailam the first abhishek? Gandha Tailam, when you put an abhishek of oil, there will be no ripples. It will flow, one dhara will come, right? That is, it's a symbol. Now the rest of the entire function, whatever you are going to do, may your mind be like this dhara of oil that is flowing down onto the Shivalinga. Same way, can I keep my mind? Now for that, we need to start practicing first to get our mind to sit in one place. Our mind does not like to sit in one place. Arjuna himself defines the mind as what? He says, my mind is chanchala asthira. Mana markata rupa. We have seen that. So the mind is not ready to sit. 84 lakh yonis, the mind has been trained to jump all over the place. अभी एक पर्टिकुलर टाइप का रसगुल्ला, दूसरे बाद फिर दूसरा टाइप का रसगुल्ला, फिर तीसरा टाइप का रसगुल्ला, एक सेकंड के अंदर में 15 रसगुल्ला खा गए. Now what happens to the mind there? So getting the mind to sit in one place, first getting the body to sit in one place, those are the sadhanas that he gave us in chapter 6, chapter 6. And then in chapter 8 he told us where to hold the prana, how to hold the prana. All of that he told us. Doing this is what it takes us to Ananya Chinta.